There's a little bit of a treasure hunt through this story, so see if you can find some of the people that play figures in this. The two that are there are very obvious, but there's some other ones that are not. So Stephen and I have known each other since we were about 5 years old, I think it is, and our first time at We Think meeting is very famous in a photograph. And I was doing this, and he was doing, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. And we were standing outside of the principal's office. At 5 years old, we still don't know what it is we could have done that needed us to be there, but we did. But it was kind of telling, and it was a kind of a bit of a thread that leads through the rest of our life. And that he was then called Stephen, now we call him more Steve. I was called Greg, I'm now called Richard. So we've all significant changes in our life. In fact, Stephen's father reminded me, he said, I'm still going to call you Greg. He said to me last night, which is true. So actually it was interesting, last night also, Stephen's mother, Alberta, reminded, like basically growing up in the Mellor household, and I remember being there playing Risk. And if you remember the game Risk, yes, we were always over there doing it. That kind of, I think, led to our international man of mystery, traveling around the world kind of thing, because we definitely got the hunger to travel. And the other part I remembered as I was thinking about all this and writing it down was that we used to go to, I lived right near a golf course, just outside of the city in Port Washington, and we could actually see just the very tops of some of the tallest buildings in New York, including the Empire State. You could see the lights. And I remember us sitting there, kind of hanging out at night, looking at that as teenagers, and looking at the city, New York City, #1, and then talking and dreaming about all the places we would go. And it was amazing when I was writing this, I just started thinking about how incredible that was, that just the dreams and the things you think about and imagine that we could actually see, but we're then out of reach and are right here right now. So it was pretty amazing. The other thing, my house was famous for having McCabe sleepovers because my parents had 7 children and I'm the last. So you can imagine by the time that I was a teenager, it was like, just whatever, just do anything. So I had a waiting list of people that wanted to hang out and sleep over at my house because we could stay up all night, whatever. But we were also a little bit naughty, and sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Mellor, but we used to actually put fake bodies in the beds and we would sneak out and go into the city. And that was the beginning of Club Kids as teenagers. So confession. But it's true, we would come back in just before my parents would wake up and everything was fine. So you start to see some themes that will recur through the story and through the evening, I'm sure. I also remember a particular time where we actually had to sneak Stephen into a bar. Stephen looked a lot younger, and he was a bit shorter when he was younger. I was actually taller and I looked a bit older. I could get by on the fake identification that our friend would create, but Stephen couldn't. So at one point there was a bar in Locust Valley and we actually snuck him in through the toilet window. And he got busted. Yes, exactly. So that was the beginning of it. Then there was a story that I was reminded of today when I was having lunch with one of our dear friends. Stephen fancies himself quite a dancer, and I know we'll see that later on. He's got a thing for swing, kind of, and ballroom dancing that he thinks he's been trained in. And a certain friend of ours was wearing a white dress at a party in the Hamptons, or it was a club in the Hamptons, sorry. And they started doing their thing, and I just said, oh, this is just not going to go well. And sure enough, he swung her out, let her go, flew across the floor, the dance floor, full of drinks and dirt, and stood up. She's never been back to the Hamptons since. She's sitting at one of the tables in the room. I won't announce names. Stephen also came over to visit me. I went and studied in Switzerland, and he came over to visit me. And I said, this is great, like, you know, come over and see me. He's like, fantastic. So he came over like a backpacker. And now I went to school at the American College of Switzerland, and this school was not exactly like backpacker college. It was quite posh in a way. And there's someone else in the room, by the way, who also went to that school. So again, you guys can do a treasure hunt and find the other person. And she's here tonight as well, at the same table. That's the other person. But Stephen arrived, and basically I was like, great, it's so great you're here, fantastic. We have a semi-formal tonight in Montreux at Harry's bar. He's like, what? He's like, I have jeans and t-shirts. I'm like, well, you came to Switzerland, of course, like you're gonna bring like semi-formal attire. He's like, I hate you. And we actually went and had I dressed him up, and we went and had a very entertaining night. where we met two Kuwaiti princesses that were at my school, that were completely smitten with the both of us. Obviously, that was not going to lead to anything eventually. But they had dreams. And it's a good thing. If you recall, Stephen, as well, the car ride back, now, she didn't drink alcohol, so we had a safe ride back in her brand new Mercedes, speeding back up to the school. The woman is 19, and she has her own Mercedes in Switzerland. Speeding up the hill and driving up this winding road, telling us how depressed she is and how she just can't handle life anymore. And we literally just thought this was not the safe ride that we thought it was going to be. But we survived. And the second thing that happened in Switzerland was that I was like, well, you know, you're in Switzerland. You came to visit me in school. We're going to go skiing. My school backs onto a ski slope. So he's like, you're kidding me. I'm like, what did you think you were doing coming to Switzerland anyway? So I dressed him up in ski clothing, and we went skiing. And later on this evening, you also probably heard about his bum knee, because it's my fault that he fell in the snow because he couldn't ski very well. Fell down the Alps. He actually fell down the Alps, yes. So we ended up eventually getting jobs in New York, and we used to actually ride the train together every day. So we'd take the same train, sat in the same seats every day like those commuter suburban people do. It's like, those are our seats. Literally sat there and still talked about the things we were going to do. And we used to actually go clubbing quite a lot. So this was kind of Club Kids Part 2. We actually were very much a part of the Club Kids scene back at that point in the kind of late 80s, early 90s. And there's someone else in the room here that was part of it. Oh, there's a few people actually. There's several. One of them was a bouncer at Mars, when we used to go to Mars all the time underage. The other person, though, was someone that we used to actually all go together as like a trio, as you would say, a trio. And we would actually all also crash at her apartment every night and do that party. And then there's other people that are part of the figures of that clubbing period, and that was an interesting time, very fun. There was Red Zone, if you remember, MK, the clubbing thing. So there was a lot of going on. Several years later, I was having a bit of a bad time. I went through a very difficult time. And Stephen was really an amazing friend. He was really taking care of me and being supportive. He then was like, well, I'm actually going to go on my grand tour, which means I'm leaving for 1 year. It wasn't great timing for me, but it was also amazing for him, and he had planned it. And he traveled around the world with someone else in the room that is in here, so some of you know her. It's fine to find her if you can. But he did one of the most amazing things that's very Stephen, actually, or Steve, whoever you're with. And he actually gave me a ticket to come meet him in Vietnam, to be at his birthday, because he wanted me to be at his 30th birthday. And it was amazing. He literally just said, take the ticket. That ticket literally changed my life. So I actually ended up not only getting airlifted out of Cambodia during a coup with another person here as well, who was in some of the other story threads. Again, you can find her. But it did change my life. I've stayed in Asia, and I've been there now for 20 years. And I've built a life there with my amazing partner, Stefano, here. And so it's been a really big thing. And I appreciate it. That is Stephen. It's the generosity and everything. So Stephen and I always helped each other out. We supported one another. Definitely always stayed connected. And he's amazing, as many of you might know, of reminding you of other people's birthdays. This is before Facebook and even after Facebook. Now we have Alexa. I had Stephen. He's literally like, it's Joan's birthday. It's Diana's birthday. It's Karen's birthday. I'm like, God, how does he know these things? He's a wizard. So we always stayed connected, and we actually connected each other's friends. So there are several cross-pollinations of our friendships from quite a few friends from Asia that are sitting over in this area. Again, you can find the ones that have come from me that have become dear friends of Stephen, and vice versa. So it's amazing, and that I think is part of, again, our relationship. Through many different times. My 3010 birthday in Ibiza, his 4010 birthday very recently. I followed, but I was after him, younger. Just pointing. I stayed in Asia, as I've said, but Steve was New York, and Steve is New York. And it's in this setting, couldn't be any better, actually. Steve is just so New York. It is in his soul and city, and it's everything to him. So it's amazing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful setting. And it was in his favorite takeaway that he actually met the man that would steal his heart. I'll leave it at that. It's a very New York story in that way, and many of you know that. And I've watched Steve, I'll move right along. I've watched Steve really grow into the man that he is, and he is really amazing, and he continues to. And Eduardo has been an incredible force in his life and in stabilizing him. He makes Steve really shine. Oh, that wasn't meant to be funny. But you're right, give him applause, because he deserves it. He deserves the applause. He was, yes. But he is a stabilizing force, and honestly, I mean that from my heart. He really makes Steven shine. I've never seen so much growth and change and just amazing things that have happened in that. It's amazing. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you for your patience with him. Thank you for your patience with me sometimes, because I tend to stay with them a lot and visit them and all that kind of stuff. And as crazy as it sounds, it actually took a fiery Latino to calm Steven down. Stabilize him. Steve is a hugely important person to me, so thank you, Eduardo, again for loving him. And really, honestly, nothing means more to me than seeing Steve happy. It's incredibly important to me. So please keep loving each other and take care of each other. Raise a glass, please, everyone, if you don't mind. Raise a glass. Oh, great, I guess. So, I want to wish them a lifetime of continued adventures, and most of all, I want to wish them love. Cheers. Love you guys.
Cheers. Let's give Richard a round of applause, everybody. Make some noise. All right. Well, next up, I'd like to welcome another guest speaker. This is Paula Duran. So please put your hands together and help me welcome Paula.